The neural-linked menu flickered in Jenny's optical implants as she sat alone in the corner booth of Celestial Grounds, the only cafe on Europa station that still served real Earth coffee. Outside the reinforced viewing ports, Jupiter's rust-colored storms churned in their eternal dance, casting amber shadows across the ice plains below. Jenny's reflection stared back at her from the darkened screen of her personal device, scales shimmering along her jawline and temples, the result of CRISPR-X gene therapy gone spectacularly right or horrifically wrong, depending on who you asked. The draconic modifications had saved her life during the mining accident on Titan 3 years ago, her restructured lungs processing toxic methane atmospheres that would have killed an unmodified human in seconds. But they'd also made her something else. Something between. She checked her chronometer. Edward Chen was now 43 minutes late for their scheduled blind date. "Ms. Drake?" The cafe's AI assistant materialized as a soft hologram beside her table. "Your companion has transmitted a cancellation notice. Shall I process your order for one?" Jenny's scaled fingers tightened around the thermal mug. Of course he'd canceled. The profile-matching algorithms never accounted for prejudice, only compatibility metrics. On paper, she and Edward were a 94.7% match. Both exogeologists, both classical music enthusiasts, both statistically lonely according to the station's psychological monitoring systems. "Just the coffee," she said quietly. The hologram dissolved, and Jenny activated her tablet, pulling up the research that never stopped, even on Christmas Eve. The quantum resonance patterns from Europa's subsurface ocean had been behaving strangely for weeks, the water molecules vibrating at frequencies that suggested something more than random thermal activity. Intelligence, perhaps, or at least complexity. "Excuse me?" Jenny looked up. A small girl stood beside her table, no more than 7 years old, her dark eyes wide with curiosity rather than fear. She wore a pressure suit decorated with hand-drawn stars, the kind parents customized to make life in the colonies feel less sterile. "Yes." "Are you a dragon?" the child asked, her voice carrying the blunt honesty only children possessed. Jenny's throat tightened. She'd prepared dozens of responses to this question, scientific explanations, defensive retorts, attempts at humor. But something about the girl's genuine curiosity disarmed her. "Something like that," Jenny said softly. "The genes that make me look this way also let me breathe in places where regular humans can't." "That's cool." The girl's face lit up. "I'm Mia. My dad says dragons are brave." "Your father sounds wise." A man approached, slightly breathless, carrying 2 steaming cups. He was Asian, mid-30s, with the calloused hands of someone who worked with geological equipment. His eyes met Jenny's, and she saw recognition flicker across his face, followed by something that looked like shame. "Mia, you can't just wander off." He stopped, seeing who his daughter was talking to. I'm Edward Chen." The universe contracted to a single point of excruciating silence. "You're Jenny," he said, not a question but a statement weighted with realization. "I thought—" "The profile picture didn't show—" "The scales?" Jenny finished for him, her voice harder than she intended. "No, they tend to scare people off before the matching algorithm can do its job." Edward's face flushed. "I'm sorry, I panicked. When I saw you come in earlier, I convinced myself that someone like you wouldn't want to meet someone as ordinary as me." He glanced at his daughter. "And then Mia's caretaker got sick and I had to bring her and I made assumptions. Bad ones." Mia tugged on her father's sleeve. "Dad, can we join her? Please? I want to hear about the Dragon Lady's adventures." Jenny studied Edward's face, reading the micro-expressions her enhanced vision could detect. Genuine remorse in the tightening around his eyes, vulnerability in the way he held his daughter's hand, hope in the slight forward lean of his posture. The station's psychological profiles had been right about his compatibility, but they'd never accounted for courage. "The booth's big enough for 3, Jenny said finally, gesturing to the empty seats. Edward's shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you. Really, I don't deserve—" "Let's start over," Jenny interrupted. "Hi, I'm Jenny Drake, exogeologist, terrible at cooking, and yes, I have dragon scales. They came with the job." A smile broke across Edward's face. "Edward Chen, also an exogeologist, also terrible at cooking, single father to the most curious 7-year-old in the outer solar system." As they slid into the booth, Mia immediately launched into questions about Europa's ice caves and whether Jenny had ever met an alien. Edward pulled up his own research tablet, and Jenny felt her pulse quicken when she saw his data. The same quantum resonance patterns she'd been studying, but approached from a completely different angle. His mathematical models suggested the vibrations weren't random at all, but a form of communication. "If you're right," Jenny said, leaning forward, "then we're not just looking at complex chemistry down there. We're looking at consciousness." "That's what I've been thinking," Edward said, his eyes bright with excitement. "But I needed someone with your field experience to verify the patterns, someone who's actually been in those extreme environments." "Because of the dragon genes," Mia interjected knowingly. "Exactly because of those," Edward agreed, looking directly at Jenny with something she hadn't seen in another person's eyes for years. Admiration, not fear. Outside, Europa's ice fields stretched to the horizon, and beneath them, an ocean older than human civilization kept its secrets. Jenny thought about the algorithms that had brought them together, the fear that had nearly kept them apart, and the curious little girl who'd asked the one question that mattered. "Can we join you?" Sometimes the universe needed a child's wisdom to remind adults what bravery actually looked like. "So," Jenny said, raising her coffee in a small toast, "Merry Christmas, and here's to new discoveries, both scientific and personal." Edward clinked his cup against hers, and Mia's hot chocolate completed the circle. "To dragons," Mia declared solemnly, "and the people brave enough to sit with them." In the quantum depths below, something vast and ancient hummed in patterns that might have been approval, waiting for the day when humans would finally be ready to listen. End.